topic number one. We want to get a good start and a good start to a good destination. And ideally, we don't want to fail in the middle, but let's talk about that in the third video of this installation. Okay, so we want to get to a good start in our lives. And you know what? If you really think about it, the good start is most likely already available to you in terms of knowledge. You probably have a good idea of what that good start is. Why am I saying this in confidence? It's because it's likely to be what your parents and what society tells you should do. So, for example, something that's super hot in the world right now is AI, right? And so when people will tell you, oh, you gotta learn in, invest in learning AI. Now, like, in general, that seems like a fairly good start, right? Because the market for AI is pretty strong at the moment. And there's a lot of companies hiring everything for AI. And even non AI companies want to do something with AI. So it's right now is like a really good time. So um, there's other fields, right? And like electric vehicles that are really hot these days. And there's a bunch of different projects that are recommended by society. And there's always the stable options of like doctors, lawyers, and things like that. Those are really good occupations that kind of stand the test of time, right? And so those are really good. So now, because this kind of information is so readily available, you have to understand the problem actually isn't in that you don't know what the good way is. The problem is most likely going to be you don't want to participate in these boring kinds of lives. You don't want to have you know, you want to live your life, and at the same time, you want to know what that would look like in in terms of planning being planned out. Like you want to know. So the core of the mental woes that come from this problem is that you're trying to know what you don't know, and that is, as the words say, it's sort of difficult. It's a tricky situation. So how do we want to solve this problem? How do we want to like figure out what's good for me? And at the same time, what if I have some sense of idea of what I want to do, but it happens to sort of collide and conflict with what the world wants me to do. So, for example, the world is increasingly technocratic, and the world is increasingly relying on technology and electronics and whatever. But what if you want to be a farmer? Like not just a farmer, like a super old time farmer. What if you want to be a brewer or carpenter that insists on using traditional technologies instead of using machinery, right? So these are things like that you can have a passion for, but you may have a lot of doubt, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit and you want to start your own business, it can be even trickier, right? Because businesses come with a really big risk because you're putting if you follow the typical guidelines for starting up a business, you have a lot of capital, and you have the risk of kind of losing it all. Okay, so to order to really be at peace with this wanting to be at a good start, is that you have to understand that the any path you actually take, right? Any start that you actually commit to is, I 100% guarantee you, it will be utilized by you in future iterations of your next starts, right? So we think that we want to be a doctor, so we follow this like really one directional pathway. But even for really stable jobs like this, there's always an up and down and up and down and up and down. And there's a lot of people who quit mid school halfway and then start like I don't know, take a sabbatical, take a break. Same with law school. Same with all these different types of careers, right? And so, even if for example, I was a software engineer, right? I was a software engineer from the beginning since I graduated college and until now. But I haven't been the same kind of software engineer all the time, right? At first, I started out with like a large. No, it was just actually software engineering and test driven development and all these like application development and backend in general. And then I went back to sort of like what I studied in school, which is like language modeling and big scale data processing. And then after that, I went into like just natural language processing, specifically like Korean, and dabbled in like Brazilian Portuguese and Russians and things like that. And then I was like, I actually like data more. So then I went to big data and then data service, data infrastructure, and then I went into like I'm into data services and like architecture, things like that now, right? So like even this path of a software engineer is always there's different courses to it. But the key word and how I describe this to you is that whatever start you commit to is the thing. So what do I mean by that? So you can get started, right? You can get started with law school, but you can spend the entire time inside of your law school thinking, what if I could do something differently? What if I could do something differently? And you half-ass it. Not only do you half-ass law school, you half-ass your other projects that you are actually passionate about. And so, same with the doctor, same with any other like career path that you want to choose. Like, at after a certain point, you're gonna need to commit. And unfortunately, a lot of people start committing to what they want to do like in their 30s, right? They spend their entire 20s half-assing things. But you know what? I'm not gonna say that's completely meaningless because that will build up a lot of your it'll build up a lot of your perspectives about what happens when you don't follow your heart. Some people may have this kind of realization around their 40s, right? But also, seen in another way, that means you have committed to kind of staying in the wishy-washy zone. And that experience is again meaningful because why? You actually committed to starting something. Now, what stops you from committing? It's fear. It's fear of what? I'm gonna generalize here. If you have any, like, if you want to refute that, and if you want to give your personal cases, you can reply to the comments. But in general, we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of failing and looking bad and disgracing our family and feeling like a waste of all the resources that were put into you. And you have very high expectations of yourself, and when you fail, you feel like you are letting yourself down. You're the cause of all your misery. So that fear of failure, we will gonna again discuss in the next videos. So that's gonna be covered in depth later. But for now, I want you to really think about, okay, I'm a young adult. Have I committed to the thing that I'm doing right now? Or do I need to find something to commit to? And that decision you make about committing, that'll make a lot of difference in whatever path you choose later on. Because the moment you commit to something, the moment you decide for good or for worse, you're gonna do this, that's when stuff sticks into your life so that they can become a resource for you later on. See you in the next video.